She should be back in a second.
I have 5:30. So I'd like to convene this meeting of the Board of Directors for the San Lorenzo Valley Water District for July 17th, 2025. Jen, will you take roll, please?
President Smalling?
Here.
Vice President Lane?
Here.
Director Largate?
Here.
Director Russ?
Here.
And Director Paul?
Here.
All right, everyone's present.
Okay. Any changes to the closed session agenda?
No changes.
Okay. Oral communications from the public. I see no members of the public in the room nor online, so we can dispense with that. So with that, we'd like to adjourn to the closed session and in the cone of silence room.
You need to move back at 6:30. Thank you. Can be now.
Okay, good. I have 6:30, so I'd like to convene this meeting of the Board of Directors for the San Lorenzo Valley Water District for July 17th, 2025. Jen, would you take roll again, please?
Leah.
Oh, Leah.
President Smalley.
Here.
Vice President Lane.
Here.
Director Colts.
Here.
Director Larday.
Here.
And Director Rust.
Here. Okay. The board has took no reportable actions during the closed session, and we did not conclude the closed session during our first period of it. The board will reconvene closed session after we conclude everything on this open session agenda that we will be discussing. So with that, any changes to the agenda?
President Smalley, yeah, I due to lengthy agenda and to give all items the time that they deserve, I would request that we table for a future meeting items 11C and 11G. Are the rate assistance program and the 5-mile hazardous tree mitigation contract.
Okay. And for the rest of the board, I discussed this with Jason earlier, again, with my concern for the lengthy agenda that we have tonight and needing to go back into the closed session. Any objections from board members to?
What were the two items?
11C and 11G.
11C and G.
Charlie Golf. Okay. Okay. We will proceed then. Oral communications. This portion of the agenda is for any members of the public that wish to address the board on a subject that is not on the agenda this evening and is within the purview of the district. If anybody wishes to address the board, need to confine your comments to 3 minutes or less. So does anybody wish to address the board?
Okay.
Let's go here.
Please, yes. And if you don't mind identifying who you are, where you're from, that would be helpful to us.
My name is Rosemary Slowinski. I'm part of the Slowinski family. We've been in the valley for a long time. I think we sold you your building that you have over by Express Street. Anyway, I grew up in the valley. I love the valley, and I'm very, very much concerned about the Haven development that is being.
Let me stop you there. The Haven project in a memo is part of the agenda.
Okay.
It does come up towards the end of the meeting. We will have a period at that point for public comment.
Okay,
I need to table anything on the Haven.
Okay.
I understand.
No problem. Okay.
Maybe a while since you've been here. So
I've never been here.
okay.
It's one of your meetings. So
okay.
Yeah,
all right.
nice
That's the process for us. Okay.
I'm assuming that most of the people here are here for the Haven. One of the other possibilities we have is to move the agenda item up earlier in the agenda.
It's not, it's not part of the agenda. It is part of the, consent. So
Well, I'll be polling.
I understand that.
Okay, so
I still want to,
I'm gonna pull it specifically to allow people to,
I understand, right, right.
and I have some other challenges on it as well.
Okay, but it's a significant item. We will talk about that. I want to do what we can expeditiously to get through the rest of the items. So, with that,
We'll see you all later.
okay, please. So,
Not the issue here about Mark.
yes,
Two people online have hand up.
okay, all right. Thank you for that reminder. Public comments from members online. Jim Mosier?
Yes, thank you. Jim Mosier from Felton. I just have a question. I heard that you pulled the rate assistance program agenda item. And I just wanted to get clarification. The Friends of San Lorenzo Valley Water met recently, and we assumed that because it was in the budget, that we should go ahead and start trying to get the word out to people about the increased number of slots that the budget is showing. And I'm just wondering, since it's being pulled, should we hold back until the board has considered this item? Because I don't want to give people, I thought it was time to bring people in.
I anticipate we will discuss that at our next board meeting.
That's the plan.
Yes. So, Justin,
So should we hold off on recruiting people?
I can't advise you on that, Mr. Mosier. So, we'll talk about this item at our next board meeting. Justin N.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's related to the Haven, but it's only a formality quickly. And looking at your publication, it says that from the consent agenda, any item on the consent agenda will be moved to the regular agenda upon request. So I'm formally requesting that the Haven Housing Development be moved to part of the regular agenda this evening.
Thank you for that. Bob,
I think that would take a vote of the board, does it not, to change the agenda?
I believe it. I believe it would.
Yeah.
But
You should make
we
a
can always
motion.
voluntarily say, I mean, I think it, because people are here and this meeting's gonna go on for an hour or more. Before we get to that.
Yeah.
In the interest of courtesy and transparency, we could voluntarily say we'll move the Haven from consent to the business part and then move that up in terms of time.
Okay.
We also do have a consultant here and her time is valuable for her presentation.
We could do it right after that.
That's fine.
I mean,
We could do it. Yeah,
That's fine.
okay.
I just-
To move it into new business. Okay. Director Foltz has a suggestion here for the board to vote on, to bring that up.
You have a second?
Okay.
And to be specific, we would move it to item 9B
Or
as item 9B.
wouldn't it be 11A?
11 ahead of 11A.
Well, okay, we can do that. Yes, right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have a motion to move it. Brian has seconded it. Yes.
President Smalley,
Yes, we can do that.
and then Vice
Yes.
Lane. Director Foltz.
Yes.
Director Larday.
Yes.
And Director Rust.
Okay. All right. Then we'll talk about that shortly rather than at the end of the meeting. But we will go over the Habitat Conservation Plan. First, item 9A.
Yeah. So we have Jody McGraw, our consultant, working on the habitat conservation plan. Go ahead and step up to the podium, Jody, and I'll pull up the slides. Yeah, I did. Okay, hold on.
Did you want to do first?
No, I think you can go ahead and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you. So the pleasure to have an opportunity to provide an update, I guess a brief one, on the habitat conservation plan for the Sandhills. Next slide. And my name is Jody McGraw. I'm the correlator. So I'll just briefly cover the purpose and need of the HCP, discuss some of the habitat conservation plan elements, and then the status of the planning process and next step. Next slide. So for those who aren't aware, the Santa Cruz Sandhills are a unique community of plants and animals that are found only in central Santa Cruz County, including they occur on outcroppings of the anti-sand soil that are derived from the Santa Margarita formation near the towns of Felton, Ben Lomond, and Scotts Valley, among others. And obviously that's right in the heart of the Sundance Valley Water District jurisdiction. They support 2 endemic plant communities and 6 species that are been described that are found nowhere else in the world. Those are photographed there. Next slide. And the district has facilities that are located in Sandhills habitat, including several wells, water tanks, pump stations, pipelines, and interties, yards, and service roads. Kind of the most well-known probably is the Olympia watershed property, 180 acres, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But obviously, several of the important wells derived in groundwater are all located in the Sandhills. Next slide. And so because 4 of the endemic species have been listed as federally endangered under the Endangered Species Act, a permit is required to conduct activities that impact those federally listed species. In the past, the district has obtained permits for activities on a project by project basis through the development of habitat conservation plans for those projects. And there's also some other mechanisms for getting said permits. We've initiated a couple years ago a project to develop what we call a programmatic habitat conservation plan. That rather than having individual projects covered, you would just cover a suite of projects under one umbrella permitting process. That would reduce the timeline required for permitting costs, and also help facilitate some of the management activities of the Olympia watershed property. Next. So the HCP has a bunch of elements that are required by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. That's the federal agency that has regulatory authority to implement the Endangered Species Act. I won't go through everything on that slide, but it's there as a resource if you're interested. I will talk about some of the planning elements we've developed thus far in this next couple slides. Next. So first we identified covered species. The covered species are just species that the permit will cover impacts to. So they're listed there: the Mount Herman June beetle, the Zany Benway grasshopper, the Ben Lomond or Santa Cruz wallflower, and the Ben Lomond spine flower. And they're all federally endangered, and Ben Lomond wallflower is also state listed as endangered. Next. The plan and permit area also needs to be specified as part of the HCP, and that's shown there in the black line. I don't know if you can see it on your screen. We define that based on all the public land and survey system township sections that the district has in its jurisdiction that have Sandhills habitat. And we included not just the current jurisdiction, but the sphere of influence. So that way future projects can also be covered and permitted. We did not include the area near Boulder Creek, as that does not have, currently known to have, and probably doesn't have listed insects, just the plants that are there. Next slide. The permit term that we're requesting is 25 years. That's designed, it's kind of a maximum current term that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is considering for such programmatic HCP. So it gives a long time horizon, but that's the max. It can be renewed before it expires if the district chooses to do so. Next. And the covered activities, those are the activities that are covered by the permit. They're kind of four broad categories: capital improvements, operations and maintenance, vegetation management, and conservation projects and program. Next, I'll tell you a little bit about some of those that we're including. So obviously capital improvements are all the work that the district does to develop new and also replace wells, tanks, pump stations, pipelines, etc. So those are all covered, and those we developed based on the discussions with district operations staff and the capital improvement plan. Next. The operations maintenance are all the obviously the ongoing activities to maintain the facilities in the sandhills habitat. And then listed there, and those were also identified in close coordination with operations staff. Next. And then the vegetation management is all the work to kind of maintain defensible space, fuel breaks, and do hazard tree removal in the sandhills. That was developed in with operations staff, and also the fuels management plan that was developed for this. Thanks. The conservation strategy includes things that are done to manage the watershed property, as well as activities to implement the HCP minimization and mitigation measures. I'll talk a little bit about that. That includes things like invasive plant management, revegetation, and surveys and monitoring, all of which can cause impact. Next. So I'll talk a little bit more about the conservation strategy. So the conservation strategy is designed the HCP to mitigate the impacts of the covered activities, the operations and maintenance, capital improvements, and the vegetation management. And it follows the mitigation hierarchy. So we need to avoid impacts wherever possible, minimize impacts where they can't be avoided, and then compensate for all of the unavoidable impacts. To mitigation must be provided to the maximum extent practical. That's the standard under the federal act. I have a table there that just kind of illustrates that those terms are familiar to you, what kind of avoidance, minimization, and compensation entail. Avoidance is doing things like not working in the sandhills if that's possible, and then also doing seasonally timed work. In some cases can avoid impacts, but not usually. There are some rare exceptions. Minimizing is obviously just reducing the footprints and restoring habitat impacts after they're created, and then compensation is things you can do to in a different area to or a different time to benefit species, including habitat protection, restoration, long-term management. Next. So these are just examples of projects that the district has done already in the sandhills under the project-specific HCPs. So just kind of bringing those to life. We got the restoration of temporary impacts, for example, with the Lewis tank site in Mompico. The picture on the left shows what it looked like right after the project was largely completed, and on the right shows restoration of sandhills habitat after the tanks were developed. So restoration work in the HCP will just describe how those activities can occur and using methods that are compatible with sandhill species and communities, which are sometimes a little bit different than what we have in other systems. Thanks. The habitat protection is being designed to occur at the Olympia watershed property. I guess everyone knows it's a 180 acre or so property off East Miami Road that's used as one of the well sites, and it has some former mining activity that occurred prior to the ownership by the district, but it also has some intact sandhills habitat. And so we've identified about 73 acres of sandhills habitat that is good, would be appropriate to include as habitat protection component or compensation. And a lot of opportunities for restoration as well. And so that area, we're designing that conservation area to be compatible with obviously ongoing water delivery efforts, including maintenance of the wells and the pipeline that goes to the site, as well as maintaining an opportunity to drill a new well at that site if necessary. So yeah, there's an existing conservation area, it's 6.7 acres there, and the idea is to tie into that and expand and buffer that habitat. Next. We've been doing a lot of work to analyze the property and identify the habitat conservation and restoration opportunities. And those are all being folded into the conservation strategy currently. Next. And then, so yeah, restoration, I think as many people know, the site does have some opportunities as far as invasive plant removal, including French broom, acacia, and locusts that are out there, opportunities to restore habitat that was impacted by mining prior to the Surface Mining Reclamation Act, and then there's lots of exotic grasses and other things that present opportunities to get that compensation needed to offset the impact. Thanks. So this is just another example of a recent project that was done in the Olympia conservation area. On the left, it was an area that after the acacias were removed, but a lot of the litter was retained or not removed. And then a couple years later, after we got all that litter off, we got a lot of benloam and sunflower establishing. Next. And so the conservation strategy will include ongoing management of the habitat to maintain and monitor habitat in perpetuity pursuant to a long-term management and maintenance plan. And that will be funded with an endowment, non-wasting endowment. So funds set aside in advance, the proceeds of which would fund ongoing management and monitoring for species like the mackerel June beetle, which is one of the most widespread of the rare species and oftentimes impacted by it. So this is kind of the status of the various elements that we've been developing in preparation, and also Chris recommended that I provide an update on the budget, so I included that as well. Next slide. And this is kind of our remaining tasks. I have this post right in my way. We're looking to get the draft HCP submitted in December. Once that draft HCP is submitted to the district staff, the 5-day review process, and I just anticipated a timeline of submitting it to Fish and Wildlife Service in March. The final HCP would then obviously be subject to revision by feedback from the Fish and Wildlife Service, or I hazarded a timeline of September for that. And then permit issuance is a process with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The precise timeline can't obviously be anticipated, but 2027 is probably realistic. I think that's all I had, and happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Jody. We're first going to go to the board for any questions and comments. I want to first go to the board members who are on the environmental committee, because it's my understanding that this has been presented to that committee somewhat.
We've discussed.
Okay, you've discussed that. Okay, so they have some background in it. So, Alina, comments, questions on this?
I'm excited to see this moving along, and it was really great to see your before and after pictures. And thank you also so much for taking everyone out on the tour this Saturday up to the Sandhills Habitat. That was just wonderful to engage our public and get to know more stuff. I don't have any questions. It looks like it's pretty much all going to play out, hopefully, well, as long as we get those permits coming back in 2027. So. But yeah, thank you so much for all your hard work on this, and this is great.
Okay, Bob?
Yeah, thank you for coming here and presenting. When I joined the board in 2018, I was told that this would be completed within a couple of years after that. And so I see a schedule now And that's great. I mean, I understand things take time, but are we committed on this schedule that we can get this thing put to bed finally? That is, you will be done by December of 2025 and start submitting for review.
I will do everything I can to get.
That's not what I want to hear. I want to hear you will do that by December 2025. Because we've been waiting a long time.
Well, I apologize for the delays. There are a lot of factors that
I
are behind
understand.
them, but there's only so much I can promise. But I will do everything I can to get it submitted by December 2025.
Because this is the way it looks from your schedule, it's a serial slip. That is, if you don't submit by December 25, we can't get it into the system and we can't get it the permit by 2027. All serially.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so please, we need to wrap this up very quickly. I had a couple other questions. The 50 acres on the expansion of the habitat offset, that includes the 10 acres or so for the Valley Gardens proposed development. And that is also wrapped up in this because we had 18 months for that. And I think this looks like it's outside of that.
I'm sorry, which is that to me or Chris?
Either or both.
So yes, it's included as part of those 50 acres that we would be including as part of this plan. Obviously, we kind of have our own agreement with them outside of this.
Yes, but the timing has to be done together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we stand to lose a substantial amount of money. At some level, we're in competition here with this INT set aside. So we want to make sure that we're executing the schedule and make sure we meet that schedule.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it completely needs to be like synced up to the dot, but obviously there does need to be synergy and both of them need to be moving forward in order for it to work out.
Is the Valley Gardens people aware of the schedule that we presented here tonight?
Yeah, I just spoke with them this morning.
Okay, so they're fully in sync, they're cool. Okay, even more reason to get this done by December 2025. The last question I had was on the way the programmatic HCP would facilitate habitat management at the Olympia well field. How is that going to be done, and what did you mean by that?
Well, the Olympia, the watershed property, maybe I'm.
Well, it says Olympia well field, so.
Okay, sorry. I use those interchangeably, that's the old thing. So the habitat management that would take place, if it's done as mitigation for the HCP, it would be covered by the HCP in either way. If it's not, if you wanted to do additional work that's not compensation for, like say there was additional room removal or some other restoration work that the district wanted to pursue that property that wasn't mitigation for some reason, we're also going to cover that as a part of the covered activities. So that's what I meant by it would be.
Does that include specific means and methods around, say, vegetation removal?
It would only refer to the means and methods where it's necessary to put sidebars on them to protect the species, but I'm not sure if I understand the question.
So, for example, pulling broom, or
Yes.
cutting broom,
Yes.
right? That
Yes.
is all covered.
Yeah, correct.
Herbicides, is that all covered in that?
Yeah, consistent with the district IPM policy, correct.
Okay, so that's all synced up and finished. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Other board members, Brian?
I guess in preface, I should say that I work for the Land Trust of Santa Cruz County. We have a Sandhills Conservation Program. We own easements in immediate proximity to this site. But I receive no personal compensation apart from doing my job. And 98% of my job has nothing to do with Sandhills. With that preference, I'll say that I think this is excellent for the organization to proceed with. My understanding is that this will save months, if not years of time on future projects, enabling them to proceed almost immediately with respect to federal endangered species permitting, because we will have mitigated for the impacts to our Sandhills-based infrastructure. Is that correct?
Yeah, the only thing, once the permit's issued, the only thing that might slow down a project would be needing to wait for the seasonally timed, implementation, so.
Sure,
Otherwise, there should be no delays.
great. And so by comparison, how long would it typically take to get a permit for that kind of a project, say the water tank up on Graham Hill Road?
Yeah, we did we did the probation tank HCP. I think that took about a year and a half, maybe it was full 2 years.
Terrific. Great, thanks very much. All I got.
Mr. Russ, any questions, comments on this?
Just a couple of quick ones. I'm new, so I guess this implies that we have a current permit that expires, or is that not the case? We're just applying for a programmatic permit to make it easier in the future.
No, there was no current permit for most of these activities. The prior permits were for just specific infrastructure projects. This would be kind of like an umbrella permit that would cover everything.
Okay. And is there when you're performing mitigation activities, is it like if you impact, let's say, an acre of habitat, do you have to mitigate an acre, or is it a multiple of an acre?
Yeah, great question. We have a couple different ratios in the plan. Just it depends on the type of activity and the impact, so it's not quite that simple, but it usually is in multiples. 2 to 1. It's
2 to 1.
on
Okay.
average.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. During the presentation, Jody, you mentioned the likelihood of us being able to reduce timelines for the permitting and reduce permitting costs. Are those based on other HCPs that you've worked on in other areas? What's your basis of telling us?
Yeah, I guess I didn't actually
process
run the
improvement.
spreadsheet math, but if we did take all of those projects
Right.
individually and take the, average cost for say the probation
Yes.
tank or the Lewis tank and then
No.
multiply that out
Right.
for 25 years, I would be really surprised if you.
Not asking for the metrics on it,
Yeah.
more the, do the agencies that issue us the permits then recognize that, oh, we don't have to file for each individual on these other ones, that we have this programmatic. Because in the past, I've seen agencies still want to defer back to, oh, no, you have to check this box first.
Oh, interesting. Well, they will work, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is really the only agency this is going to completely satisfy.
Right.
And I think there might be a very odd project that
Okay.
would impact, I should just be in full disclosure,
Okay.
do you have any sandhills projects that are gonna also impact like a red-legged frog or something else,
Right.
where we decided not to try to cover that just because they
Okay.
additional complications. So I can't guarantee that it would completely obviate the need for permits from the Fish and Wildlife Service, but
Right.
your sandhill permitting needs to be met.
Right.
And
So
yeah.
the benefit is with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, primarily or almost exclusively on these projects then. And if they're the ones that are encouraging this plan. Or
Yes, they are
Okay.
very appreciative.
Okay,
of the
then I
district's work
would
on this
expect it
plan.
trickles down to the staff level also to say, let them follow this now. Yeah, okay.
Their staff.
Their staff, not ours, their staff, right? Yeah. Okay, all right, thank you. Thanks for the presentation.
Quick question, if I may. I don't know.
Yes, each of us have had the opportunity for one bite of the apple. I'd like to ask the public for any questions, comments on this plan. In the back, could you please come up and?
Yes. My name is Rick Moran. I'm from Ben Holmes, and I have two question and a statement. One is I'm wondering how the populations of the four endangered species has changed over the course of, say, the last 20 years. Are they increasing, staying the same, decreasing? What's the population change since we're doing so much work there trying to protect these little guys? And the second one is more of a statement here. I'm concerned that with the invasive species management that, we might be stepping back from a board policy that we passed, 2020, I think, about the banned use of glyphosate. So, you know, when we talk about weed management, we've stepped back. There was a program that we were using glyphosate, and the people in the valley spoke up and said, we gotta stop doing that. So I want to make sure that we stick to that, and the people in this area would want to definitely make sure that that is not going to be stepped on, or make sure that that policy is continued. All right, so the populations of the endangered species.
I am Bruce Holloway from Boulder Creek. The presentation referred to a watershed endowment, and it sounded like it was a future plan. But I can remember a finance committee meeting when Randall Brown was on the committee, so he went off the board in 2016. So as far back as 2016, maybe 2015, there was discussion about a watershed endowment. And on page 23, page 223 in your packet, which there are cash balances, and it shows a watershed endowment in the amount of $55,000, earning 0% interest, which I said last week is an insult to the word endowment. Now, I took the tour on Saturday, and there's some beautiful pictures here of spine flowers, and I really appreciate all that. After it was over, I asked Ms. McGraw about the watershed endowment, what she could tell me about it. And what she told me on Saturday was she thought it was $100,000, and she thought it was with the community foundation. So I'm beginning to wonder if the $55,000 that we've got right now, earning 0% interest, has somehow gotten stalled in transit. That we received it, and it really was intended to go to the community foundation maybe 2 years ago, and it's just been sitting there. So I guess at this point, I'm really curious about the entire history of the district's watershed endowment since inception, and that may be 10 years ago. I don't think there's been lots of activity. So I think if you look at your accounting system, it might only be 1 or 2 pages of transactions that show when that account was established and everything that went in and everything that went out and where it went. And I'm about at the point of doing a records request, but because this has been discussed at the finance committee a couple of times already, I wish that somebody on staff would just do the research and let us know the history of the watershed endowment. But I will do a records request, you know, at some point if I don't find out. Thanks.
Okay. To Mr. Holloway's comments, Jason, did you follow up on that?
Yeah, actually, Heather,
unless you know the answer.
Yeah, no, I well, sort of, but Heather and I talked about that after the finance committee meeting, and I'll defer to Heather to answer that question.
If I may. The money is held with Santa Cruz County Community Foundation. I believe the balance is a little over 200,000. The funds that Mr. Holloway are referring to is the money we've actually received from the foundation to be used in operations for the watershed. Chris is fully aware of those funds and has a plan for the use of those funds.
Okay, thank you. And then I am curious on the species habitat, the endangered species habitat. Do we have any way to assess what it was like 20 years ago or 10 years ago? Or Jody? Sure. Sure.
Yeah, so I think anecdotally, the habitat is much improved. I've been working out there since 1997. So I can just tell you, you know, someone who's been studying and researching out there for that long, it's much improved. We don't have any long-term data for the cycle. That's kind of, I think what a lot of people interested in conservation at the site are really excited about is that the HCP will provide a mechanism for collecting those data and documenting those benefits of the conservation work that has been going on. But we don't have anything at that site.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's it for public comments here. I see nobody online with public comments. To the board again, Mr. Russ, you had a follow-up.
And I don't know if this is the appropriate place to ask this question. Are we ever subject to CEQA?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So this has nothing to do with CEQA. That's a whole nother permitting and process that we get pulled into.
Yes, yeah. If you want more on CEQA, please ask Chris.
All right. I can already see the scars on you.
He can educate you on that. Okay,
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you then. Moving on to new business. Well, the new business item, since we just changed it, is the Haven Housing Development memo that we have attached. Jason?
Let me address that. So let me start by giving the background. So the district received a meter review application in June of 2024 from a landowner for a single family home to be built on each of the 4 separate parcels along Graham Hill Road. None of the parcels have frontage on a street with district water main, but service could be theoretically provided through a long service line agreement or a mainline extension. 4 will serve letters were provided to the property owner in August of 2024 with conditions developed by staff and with the understanding that a single home will be built on each of the 4 parcels. In October of 2024, the Santa Cruz County Planning Department solicited comments from the district on the proposed Haven development on these same 4 parcels. The developer included the 4 will serve letters in their application. Despite substantially increasing the project scope to 157 units, the district provided the county with an overview of the requirements for service, which included a main extension, a hydraulic analysis performed by a licensed engineer, and a LAFCO boundary change for certain parcels. LAFCO and CEQA requirements apply to the district and the county on the front end. The developer would only be responsible for financing those efforts through a reimbursement agreement and implementing any required mitigation measures once any required CEQA analysis and LAFCO requirements have been completed by the public agencies. In February 2025, the district provided additional comments to the county and the developer, along with a list of minimum requirements prior to the potential water service. The district is currently conducting a preliminary review of the hydraulic analysis provided by Schaefer and Wheeler in June of 2025 on behalf of the developer. The district has not received an updated formal water service application for the Haven housing development for the proposed 157 unit project. Accordingly, the board may not discuss, deliberate, or take any action on this prospective project at this time. Premature deliberation by the board may constitute an unlawful prior restraint or prejudgment of a future quasi-judicial decision under California law. Board members acting in a quasi-judicial capacity must remain neutral and unbiased, having not prejudged any fact, and must avoid even the appearance of pre-commitment. Expressing opinions or positions on the project before a complete water service application is submitted could compromise the board's impartiality and legal posture in any subsequent proceedings, challenging any district decision on the project. Therefore, no discussion or action on the Haven project should be taken by the board at this meeting beyond receiving public comment or directing staff on procedural next steps as allowed by the law. So I just want all the public to understand that. Please come up to the lectern and make your statements, but the board do not comment.
Before we do that with the public, I do want to address another aspect to this. I'll get to you in just a minute, Bob.
I have questions.
But before we do that, I had asked our legal counsel for the aspects that Jason described for what the board cannot do this evening, and that includes discuss this. We don't want to prejudge at this point. We can't. I don't want to put the district in a position of potential suit at some point because of something we may have done here at a board meeting. So given that, Barbara, I do have a question for you at this point. I had talked to Jason briefly earlier this week about what's the district required to do given what we've been submitted and requested from this developer. I'd like him to address that so that the board and the public understands what our requirements are. So, given we can't discuss, can he address that question?
Yeah, he can address that question.
Okay, okay. So, Jason?
So as a water district, we are legally responsible to provide water if we can. So that means we do a water supply analysis. We do a hydraulic analysis of the system to make sure that it can meet all the requirements as far as fire flow and providing adequate system pressure. And beyond that, it's up to CEQA, it's up to the EIR process to decide whether or not the development can go ahead.
Okay.
And I would just add to that, it's not on the district's financial back to do those analyses. Those analyses are to be paid for by the applicant, developer, applicant, whoever's requesting that water service. So I just wanted to be clear what the district does, or most, oftentimes what happens in these situations, you enter into a reimbursement agreement so that staff time, any consultant time, et cetera, is paid for by the applicant.
Okay. All right. With that then, Director Foltz, without implying.
I understand. I think it's really important though what Jason said regarding our role. We are not the political decision makers on development. We can't be. Legally, we can't be. But what I do want to do is dive a little bit more into this notion of quasi-judicial activity. The Valley Gardens project, which admittedly was inside of our completely inside of our service district, none of this came up during that time. So I want to understand what we mean by quasi-judicial and exactly what our role is, where we would enter into a quasi-judicial session, which is not part of the board, regular board open agenda. It is a completely separate process. What is it that we would be acting on, since we're not the political decision makers around this development?
You'd be acting as a responsible agency under CEQA and comply with CEQA, as well as whatever the project applicant is seeking from you, right? I mean, dedication of transmission facilities or infrastructure, conclusion or analysis and input on any of the hydraulics or water supply assessment that's being conducted?
That is completely independent of acting as a quasi-judicial board. And we did not do that with the Valley Gardens project.
What do you mean you did not do?
We did not act in a quasi-judicial role with the Valley Gardens project. We basically had two sections for Valley Gardens, and this is a new development, very much like Valley Gardens in terms of scope. We had staff negotiate a agreement between the developer and ourselves as to what they would pay for and what their responsibilities were and how that was going to get paid as part of the will serve process. Board had input into that. I think that went back and forth a couple of times. Separately, we also entered into an agreement to allow them to take up to 10 acres as part of mitigation for sandhill. On both of those, we did not enter into a quasi-judicial activity. What is our quasi-judicial activity here? I get people want to try to limit the political aspect of this. And I've certainly heard that the supervisor has said these same sorts of things. But the supervisor role and our role is fundamentally different. They have nothing to do with each other. They're the political decision makers. We are not.
Yeah, I don't equate quasi-judicial to political, and I hear you equating those two terms, and I'm not really sure why you would do that.
Your decision-making, your discretionary decision-making, which is a quasi-judicial role because you have a discretionary decision to make, comes after the environmental documentation is complete by the lead agency.
We did not follow that process for Valley Gardens. So what's different
I'm
here?
not aware of you entering into, I'm not aware of Valley Gardens being completed. I'm not aware of their secret documentation being or that you have like this. I'm not aware of.
What we're talking about here is will serve letters and the fact that the board can't comment on this because we're supposedly going to be entering into a future quasi-judicial role. In fact, we should be able to comment on will serve letters and contracts that have been executed between our district and the developer, which we were not part of. And we should be following the same process for that we followed for the Valley Gardens. Now, if there's a subsequent quasi-judicial process later, that's great. But what I'm trying to do here is make sure we're establishing that we're treating both of these development projects in exactly the same way, that we're not doing something for the Haven, we're treating them one way when we treated Valley Gardens a different way. And right now, I think that's exactly what we're doing. Especially given
I don't understand why you think we're treating them.
Especially given that the board did not have an opportunity to vote on the contract with Haven in the same way that we did with Valley Gardens. Something's wrong here.
You mean the reimbursement agreement?
Yes, the will serve letter, reimbursement agreement, all that. We had a process we went through with the Valley Gardens. We're not following that same process here with the Haven.
So I don't think we can this evening.
I understand we can't
resolve that.
But this is a problem.
But your point is taken. I would ask our general manager, Barbara, to go back, given Director Fultz's comments. And Jason, you weren't involved in Valley Gardens. So query other staff on that one to see how we handled that versus how we're doing this. This is not the last meeting that we're going to be discussing the Haven project.
I understand. I want to make sure we're setting the rules of the road up front.
Right. Okay. So given that, and the fact that, again, the board can't discuss this evening to form any opinions, and public is here. Do you want to make a statement to the public before?
I just had a question about it. On page 206, number 3, it lists, it says the first APN is currently within SLVWD's LAFCO sphere of influence, but not within our judicial boundary. And then it lists another APN and it says that one is currently not within either boundary, but it said there's 4 parcels in total. Can you address what is up with the other 2, like where they kind of lie in those boundaries because it's not listed out?
Again, Barbara, if any of these questions are the discussing aspect.
Oh,
I think this could be followed up on as well. It's a great question.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
I just wasn't understanding since they didn't clarify the all 4.
Okay. Then
Well, go ahead.
I agree with Bob's thought. Having staff follow up on this one, on Alina's question. And if you need to get her thoughts on it, just ask her for a short email with this to address that aspect. Okay. So before we solicit comments from the public, a couple things that I want to. The board has received significant written comments from members of the public over the course of the last 5 months, 6 months or so. So since the beginning of the year. To my knowledge, all of those comments oppose the project from the public. So I want the public to understand that we've already had a significant on that. And we have to let public comment on this. I would ask for a show of hands, how many people want to offer a comment on this evening? Okay. All right, I see 5. here, and there's probably several online also. I see a couple online. Okay, then as I stated at the beginning, public comments being limited to no more than 3 minutes. I would ask, for the sake of time, if you're okay with it, simply stating your name and saying, I agree with that previous speaker and wholeheartedly. So with that, please, we'll take comments from members here in the room, and then I'll transition to online if we have that. So if you could come up again, yes, please. Thank you.
I've already introduced myself.
Right. Yes, you get the floor.
Okay, my name is Rosemary Slowinski, originally from Boulder Creek, grew up here, love the valley, and I'm very concerned about the Haven Development Project. So the Haven Development Project, they are applying under a rule called Builder's Remedy, which they have put in their application to the County of Santa Cruz on April the 11th of 2024, one day before the state certified the housing plan that the county had. So they sort of snuck in under the radar. And basically the Builder's Remedy, what it does, it allows a developer to come in and completely bypass all of the zoning regulations, all of the county's plans. They have free reign, and they can do a lot of bad things. This particular development we're very concerned about because it calls for 157 units. Some of these units are 3 stories high. They sit on a footprint that's akin to what would look like a mobile home trailer. And they're directly across from Henry Cal State campgrounds and the park. So we feel there's going to be a tremendous disruption to our beautiful, beautiful park, which is here for all of the visitors to come to enjoy. This particular project, there's 4 lots that are involved. 2 of the lots are in San Lorenzo Valley's water district, 2 are not. They are not part of your district. You do not have to give them water. We took a look at your bylaws, and I don't see it. Other people in my group don't see it where you are required to give them water just because they ask you to give them water. In fact, if you were to go back and create and say, yes, we will give you water for this 18,000 square foot facility and these 157 houses, then it has to go to LAFCO, and LAFCO has to say, okay, SLB Water wants us to move to do this, so we're going to go ahead and do a boundary change. So with that being said, I highly encourage you not to do this. I can tell you the outpouring of rage from Valley residents, people from Boulder Creek, all the way up to Ziante, Scott Valley, is really, really strong. People are really upset about this. We're concerned on a number of different fronts, and I'll let other people address what that is. But I just want to clarify so that you know what we know, because we've been researching this since January when this thing came about. Let's see here. One of the things that I found really ironic coming tonight was being able to sit through and listen to this really great presentation. And thank you so much for doing that regarding the Sandhill site. Well, the site that this developer wants to develop is a sandhill site. 40 acres of sandhill site, and it has species on it that are endangered and are found nowhere else in the world. So the irony is that they are asking to destroy the site. They're planning on taking out 600 trees, putting in 600 parking places, putting in all these units, and they're going to destroy all of these species, all these beautiful species. And the irony is that you guys are working so hard to protect. So that's what I would say. So please think of that. I'll let other people who are more knowledgeable than me.
Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Lorenzo Randuch, and I live in South Valley, and I'm a California certified naturalist. I do work in conservation, but more on a storytelling aspect. And so I've been following this project, obviously, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about just the groundwater in this project. So we all know that groundwater recharge is the largest inflow to aquifers, and so there's like the groundwater triple threat, and so we have increasing demand, shifting land use, and then more intense rainfall. So I know we can't control, we can't control more intense rainfall that's happening. We're gonna see more intense drought, more we have our atmospheric rivers, so like that's going to be happening. And so this project will just make everything worse in terms of increasing demand, but also shifting the land use. So I also love the sand hills, so I agree with Rose, got everything. And I volunteer to help the sand hills in my community, so it's really important to me. But I just want to look at the bigger picture, and I hope all of you will, as you consider things in the future, think about long-term impacts and how that'll happen. And then I do have a question, but not really about the Haven. Can I ask a question?
You've got another minute plus.
I mean, fast, I'll respect your time. So there was a thing about reimbursement agreements, and I'm just curious, is that, so will you incur those, will you incur are you hoping to be paid back for in costs that you incur, or will you already have money when you have a reimbursement agreement? Is it kind of like a creditor thing? Not really, but I'm just curious if there's already funds there that you get to use, or do you have to go back and say, hey, we need this money, because how do you know that you're gonna get that money back?
I can only speak from my experience. Yes, the district would front the money, and then the reimbursement agreement would get the money back. Or in this case, and Garrett can speak to me this if I'm wrong, but another thing would be in the dedication of the actual fixtures that they're giving to the district.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll go. My name is Rick Moran. I'm from Venlo. Adding sufficient significant consumption, this 157 homes, while losing production. We've lost this from the CCU fire. We lost a lot of the 5 mile pipeline, specifically the 5 mile pipeline. That's not sustainable. You're adding consumption, you're losing production. It's not a sustainable form, right? Plus the cost of completing the 5 mile pipeline. We've had costs and they've increased every year that we haven't done it. And the financial burden to this water district to try to recoup that production is going to be even more expensive if this FEMA shutdown happens. So we're losing federal money and we're taking time replacing this 5 mile pipeline. I don't see how we can add more consumption to our water district. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just quickly, I'm Susan Beck. I live off of Grand Hill Road, near the Haven Project in Santa Cruz, near near Henry County. So I was evacuated. The whole neighborhood was evacuated during the 2020 CU fires, and then recently there was a fire on Lockwood Lane, and I don't believe that there would be a way out for people to escape if there was a large fire again. If this Haven project came into development, there wouldn't be any roads out. There wouldn't be enough roads on the way out, and there wouldn't be enough water to fight the fires. And we just had a recent example, like I said, lane fires. So my main concern: not enough water, no roads, no safety. People are dying. That's my main concern.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lorenzo, and I've been living in Scotts Valley for 28 years. And it's not necessarily, the comments were great because he went from one home to 157. I need some clarification. You made the comment that you provide water. So what is the process that you go through to provide that water for 157? Do you account for how many people are going to be in those homes, occupying those homes, using the water, consuming the water? What is your process? You don't just give water. You need to figure out, can we afford to have this project? Because 157 homes, perhaps there's 2 people in that home or 5 people in that home. So what analysis does the water district take or do, or what's your process that you can approve this kind of project when, I mean, out of the 28 years, I think about 20 years, I've been told to consume water. I mean, it's only been the last couple of years. Conserve, sorry, thank you. There's been a sign on Grand Hill Road telling me to conserve water. So how are you going to approve this? You know, what's your process? So I don't know, you probably can't answer me because of what you had said earlier, but I'm very curious how you could approve this project. Anyway, that's what I gotta say.
Yeah, so there's a water supply analysis done to see what the amount of water that we have and if we can meet the demands that the project will put. There are the hydraulic analysis done to make sure that the fire flow is there and adequate flow to maintain pressure. I'm assuming, and I'll let Garrett speak to this more, but I'm assuming there's a fixture count and there's some assumptions made about, you know, how many residents are going to be there, but here, I don't think.
And this information, if it goes that far, will be documented in a subsequent report that the district will be issuing as to how these analyses are done.
I can actually help people understand that by pointing them to the Valley Gardens reports that were done.
That's
right, which all of the Valley Gardens went through exactly the same process that Jason and we interrupted Garrett, but would talk about. And if you guys need help finding those documents, I'm sure we can help you with
similar process.
Yeah.
Okay.
The hydraulic analysis will address the supply.
Right. Okay. If anybody else wants to comment, please come up to the mic. And
My name is Jane Koopman. Just a quick comment. It seems to me that the Valley Gardens project has been approved. And I just want to add to your comment about concerns that adding that level of development at the same time that you just approved an also equally large development. I struggle with understanding too, how are you going to provide enough water to both of those developments? And then in the case of fire, what does that mean for having sufficient pressure to fight a fire? And additionally, as you mentioned, the concerns about traffic, because that is, you know, in the event of a fire, Lockwood Lane is the way you get to either Graham Hill or Mount Hermon to get out of town. And it's, you know, you're going to have two huge developments that are going to make it very difficult to do that. This particular Graham Hill, since it's just a 2-lane road, and there's no plan to increase the number of lanes. So that's my concerns around this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, can you clarify one thing though? So we didn't approve the development. That's done by Scotts Valley City Council. We only issued a will-served letter.
For Valley Gardens.
For Valley Gardens.
For Valley Gardens.
Very big difference though.
Jack, the stories, Scotts Valley. I just have one quick point. In the discussion of the will serve letters, I believe, Jason, you said they were issued for the 4 single family houses in August. Correct. 24th. So the interesting thing that I find is that his application to the county for the 157 homes was in April of 2024. So when he came to you in August, he was really being deceptive in asking for a will serve for 4 houses when he'd already applied for 157. And in that instance, I'm wondering are those will serve letters even valid, or can he retract them? Because my concern would be that he would use those as leverage at the LAFCO stage, saying I've already got will serve letters, even though the will serve letters that we obtained were not for his intended use. So that's my only concern.
Okay, thank you. I do think that question that he's asked, are the will serve letters valid? Something that staff should follow up on, given the change in condition. But I don't want to discuss it.
Yep.
Staff can follow up on that. Okay. Not seeing anybody else here in the room. We do have one online, two online. Justin, you're up.
Evening again. How's my audio level? Is everything good?
It's great.
Great. I'll start with my full name, Justin Nordgreen. I'm a direct neighboring resident of the proposed project, the Haven project. And for the record, I strongly oppose the project. I have not submitted a letter or anything, so just get that on the record. My credentials are a major from UC Santa Barbara in environmental studies, so I'm well steeped in my background for analyzing these type of projects and all the paperwork going into them. Mike, I have a couple questions that I'll ask to the board. Not that you guys need to answer them now, but I'd ask that you guys do consider them. Has a background check been performed on the property owner that you intend to loan we the people's money to, in an advance that you've already stated this evening? It is my understanding that he already has one property in default, and that he's currently also in court for defrauding multiple women for millions of dollars. The other question I have is that have you already received $15,000 for the 4 proposed homes? My concern there with that is that this gentleman, the property owner, is trying to pull a bait and switch. I think that was kind of already alluded to by a previous speaker. So it's like he's trying to get the camel's nose under the tent, if you will. So that is one of my concerns with this project, that he's trying to move forward with the 4 homes. Once you run water there, then there will be we want to get the water for these 157 homes, or the large project. Other question I have is, when is the board required to have formal input on the Haven project? Because you've made it abundantly clear that you won't be commenting tonight, but if and when are your obligations to have that so that we can all be present to hear that? And then the other comment I have is kind of generally in Santa Cruz County. Has anybody recently on the board driven down Front Street? Because the massive developments quite literally block out the sun and the beautiful views, and it has forever been changed. The downtown view shed will never be the same, and in my opinion, it's abhorrent. And this project is more of the same. And urban sprawl is a blight upon this beautiful landscape that we all call home. So I ask you guys consider that, and nothing happens in a vacuum. So that's my comments. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see, online, Jim Baugh. Jim?
Yeah, this is Jim Bond from Ben Lomond.
Yes.
Can you hear me all right?
We're good.
Great. So listen, I'm gonna play I've got a counter opinion. I'm a big fan of creating housing, and high density housing like the Haven in particular. I believe that the low growth NIMBYs are selfishly using faux issues to continue to make Santa Cruz County the most expensive county in the state for housing and force our kids to move to the Central Valley. I'd say if you're really worried about the Mount Herman June beetle, the aquifer recharging, water usage, and other sandhill issues, then let's get together and recommend ripping out all the buildings, the ball fields, the driveways, the paved parking lots, retaining walls, and other man-made developments at Highlands Park, Boulder Creek Community Center, Loch Lomond, Junction Park, Michael Grayfield, and other places. Let's do something like that. Do we really sacrifice the Mount Herman June beetle for a ball field? I'd say no. So in summary, I have faith in the water district to figure out if we have enough water to service any new developments. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. I see no others online. And nobody else here in the room. So we will conclude this item for this evening. I do have a couple of follow-up things that we've asked staff for. So we will be dealing with this again. I can't say when at this point. I don't know. So thank you for the input.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on then to committee appointments. Let's see, who's
I got it.
okay, you're presenting this one?
So the resignation of Director Jeff Hill in May created a vacancy on in the chairperson position for both the Administration Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee. For the Board of Directors policy manual, the Administrative, Budget and Finance, Engineering and Environmental Committees may have no more than 2 directors and at least 1 public member, but no more than 3 public members. Currently, Director Russ is on the Budget and Finance, but he was appointed as a public member and not a representative of the board. So both the Administration and Budget and Finance Committee need an appointment of director. So if the board so is inclined to do so now, I recommend that the following motion is made that the board appoints director to fill the open seat on the district's administration committee and then also on the budget and finance committee.
Okay.
So just from a procedure point of view, the committees are typically, this is one of the privileges of being president. You get to appoint subject to ratification by the board.
Right.
So I hope you're prepared to do that.
I am. Good. Okay. Given that, any comments from the board on the memo itself and what Jason has just stated in front of us? No other comments from board. Given that, any comments from the public on this simple item? Okay, then I want to nominate Director Russ to fill the vacancies that we have on the Budget and Finance and the Administration Committee.
Second.
And I would ask first Director Russ to comment.
Nominated, I shall not run, and election I shall not serve. Notice how quickly everybody.
I know. Right. So.
I'm open to that, both of those, if the board thinks that's the way to go.
Okay, we have a motion seconded. I see no comments from the public on this. Leah, do you?
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Fultz,
Yes.
Director Larday,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
I'll abstain.
You can vote for yourself.
Okay, I'll change it to yes.
Okay.
I guess I have to have a little confidence.
If you don't, why should we?
That's a good point. You want to rethink the vote?
Would be my, I think he can, or that Leah can make it unanimous. Okay. There is another aspect to the memo that we don't have covered in the motion, and that was for another public committee member. I don't know that we want to discuss that.
Historically, we've just allowed staff to go publish that there's an opening. We haven't voted on it or anything like that. So.
Right, but I do want to ask then if you're encouraging that, because we haven't always done that in the past.
It is dependent on timing.
Right.
So we're kind of like right in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it would be worthwhile to go. If it was November, I'd say no.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
If it was January, it's absolute yes.
Yes.
We're kind of in the middle. I'd still say no.
We're in the middle, but I do want to look at timing then, because there is a cost to us, although minimal, to advertise for it. I think the soonest that we would have somebody, have a public member on the Budget and Finance Committee is for a September meeting. The soonest. It might be the October meeting, given all of the procedural hoops. So given that,
It's still worthwhile given where we are, in my opinion. I'm always I mean, I understand the costs, understand the timing, but I think it's important that the board have a policy that generally tries to incorporate as many community members into the process as possible.
Okay. Any comments from the two people that are on the Budget and Finance Committee in particular as to the?
I think it would be terrific to issue a recruitment announcement and try to fill that seat.
Okay.
I would agree.
Okay. Well, then I don't believe we need to take a vote on this since it's not part of the motion. Staff, you've heard board's opinions on this. So I think you can act accordingly.
We have our marching orders.
Okay. All right. Moving on then. To the next item that we still have on the agenda then, budget amendment. Let's see, Heather's presenting that.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Good evening, Board. Heather Ipoletti, Finance Consultant to the District, Senior Advisor with Regional Government Services. The action before you tonight is to adopt a resolution approving a budget amendment to the fiscal year 25-26 budget. On June 5th, 2025, the board adopted a resolution approving the 25-26 budget, and on that same night approved by motion an employment agreement for General Manager Jason Lillian. The cost of the approved agreement exceeds the fiscal year 25-26 budget appropriated for the general manager position by $65,811. A budget amendment increasing appropriations by that amount is proposed tonight. There is no further presentation on my part. That concludes it.
Okay. Then by a show of hands, any members of the board want to ask questions or comment on this? Seeing none, does anybody from the public wish to?
I saw the terms of the contract in my last agenda packet. I think I don't have any quarrel with that. I don't have anything to say about the contract. I think it's a little, as an outside observer, I'm a little surprised to see that on the exact same day, June 5th, the board approved a budget and then also approved a contract that doesn't fit into the budget. So I'm kind of mystified how this happened last month. But the second point I want to make is, see, I saw that page in the packet that's got the 5 account numbers. And so this increase is actually distributed on 5 accounts. And I've seen this kind of thing at the county. And I think they have, I don't keep track of the county that closely, but I get the impression they have what I would call budget discipline. So when they add $65,000 to one thing, they take away $65,000 to stay within the budget. That's what I would call budget discipline. Another example would be the tax penalty last August, 45 days into the fiscal year. All of a sudden, the interim finance director said, surprise, surprise, we've got to pay a tax penalty that wasn't budgeted. And the board voted for that, which you had to vote for it. But I think if there was budget discipline, when you have to pay $50,000 for something, then you would knock $50,000 out of the budget. So I guess this district's living kind of high on the hog. You keep adding things to the budget, but you never take anything away. You don't have that discipline. And so the budget is just, it's kind of a play act. If you don't need budget, you're just going to pay the money. There isn't really what I call budget. Thanks.
Okay. I want to make a motion that the board adopt the attached resolution approving an amendment to the fiscal year 2025-26 budget.
Second.
Okay. You?
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Okay. We agreed to postpone the discussion of item 11C. Moving on then to item 11D, the investment policy. Okay, Heather?
Yep. Good evening. The
Thank you.
action before you tonight is to consider adopting a resolution approving the investment policy for fiscal year 25-26. The investment policy establishes formal policies for the prudent investment of the district's surplus cash. The policy complies with sections of the government code as well as the water code, which call for the appointment of a treasurer and indicates that that same person should not serve as both the general manager and treasurer of the district at the same time. On June 16th, 2022, the board adopted a resolution approving an investment policy effective for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 23. With that resolution, the board also delegated the responsibilities of treasurer to the Director of Finance and Business Services. There was no investment policy approved for fiscal years ending June 30th of 24, nor June 30th of 25, nor was the responsibilities of treasurer delegated. The position of Director of Finance and Business Services has been vacant since October 16th of 23. The attached policy, or the proposed policy, is the same policy that was approved by the Board of Directors in 22. Staff has no proposed changes. Once the positions of general manager and finance manager have been filled, there are two resolutions that need to be updated and presented to the board for their consideration. A resolution appointing a treasurer and a resolution authorizing signatories on the LAIF account. Currently, those signatories are two employees that are no longer employed by the district. This policy has gone to the Budget and Finance Committee and unanimously voted to be recommended to the board. That concludes my presentation.
Okay. Then I will ask a show of hands from board members. Does anybody have comments or questions on this? Director Foltz?
Yeah, really briefly, is there a reason we wouldn't deal with appointing an interim treasurer or changing the signatories tonight? Or sometime soon, if there are two people that are on it right now aren't with us anymore? I noticed that this policy did drop names that were in the 22-23, but didn't replace the name.
Normally, the treasurer is appointed as the business and finance and business services manager or director. You currently do not have that position. I am a consultant. I cannot serve as that finance director position. You have an accountant, and she is not the appropriate person to serve as the treasurer. And the treasurer cannot be the general manager. So therefore, unless you were to consult with, for instance, a CPA in the area that would advise you, I'm not sure who you would appoint as a treasurer or put on that resolution for LAIF at this point.
I think there's two questions. One is the treasurer and one is signatories. Right. So the treasurer, I get, what you're saying is there's no one qualified at the district today to do that. I don't know that I would agree with that, but okay. Second one is the signatories that you mentioned earlier.
Correct.
Is there a reason we wouldn't deal with those tonight too? Or why we didn't deal with those tonight too, if in fact we have no signatories?
This staff report was discussed with the attorney and approved by your legal staff.
So,
Okay, well, I mean, it doesn't answer the question.
but I agree with Bob's question. Since we now have a general manager in place, we have at least one of two.
We could make him the signatory.
We have one of the two roles. Is there any reason, Barbara, not to make our general manager signatory?
There's no reason that I'm coming up with. I think the issue is the finance director role, the treasurer's finance.
I think we understand that. Yeah. But we could have general manager. I don't,
right.
I'm not in favor of putting name in at this point.
For the life resolution, the names are required.
Oh, okay. All right. Then
I don't know. I mean, and maybe it's something that you bring back in the next meeting, but I mean, I just don't understand why we didn't take care of it like right now. I don't get it. Anyway.
Heather, does it have to be, or is it normally the finance manager that is the second signatory?
That is correct.
As the treasurer.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Well,
and the second signatory on the life account also.
If we, sure.
For actions on the life account, are two signatures required?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we don't have one right now.
Well, again, I think that might be something, Jason, you would want to. I'm deeply concerned about having no signatories, and I can't believe there isn't somebody that's qualified to act in an interim capacity.
Right. So I would ask them,
board member?
What's that?
Could a board member be an interim?
Yeah, I'd like Jason to think about your question. Right. Yeah. Since you've already stated, isn't there somebody else? Isn't there? But we'll let Jason.
I know everyone's looking over there at you.
We'll let Jason resolve that. But given that, if we don't have a signatory, is there any reason to codify this investment policy tonight? Or
yes, we can still do that.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a two-step process.
It's the vote at this point on it. Okay. Then any other board comments on this?
I think there might be some people at this table that might be good as a second signature while we're in the interim. So that's all. That's my only comment.
We will let Jason deal with that.
Oh.
Again. So given that, do we have any comments from the public on the resolution for the investment policy?
The investment policy refers to California Government Code section 53600 et sequitur. And the memo refers to section 53607. Section 53607 says that the treasurer must make monthly reports. I have no idea how the reporter ever was in the investment policy. It contradicts section 53607. There's also so it's in section 2 and it's in section 9. There's also a section in there, there's a sentence in section 2 that says something like, between meetings or between, in the middle of a quarter, the treasurer can talk to the committee and have discussions with the committee. But I think if there's monthly reports, there isn't really that sentence doesn't really mean anything. Because, if there's a monthly report, the committee's meeting monthly, that sentence doesn't really mean anything. So anyway, at the very least, I think you should strike the word quarterly because it contradicts state law, or change it to monthly or something like that. The other thing I want to say, so I've been to the last two finance committee meetings, I've been to the last three finance committee meetings, and the $6 million in the Wells Fargo account was discussed in May. I came to the board in May and pointed out that we were not getting any interest on the $6 million. And when I brought it up again at the finance committee last week, I heard, oh, the transfer was made. Now, the thing is that I heard a lengthy discussion in April, I think it was, from Heather, very much like the one she just said, where she said she could not be the treasurer. She said it would threaten her CalPERS pension if she moved that money from the Wells Fargo checking account into the county investment pool. Now, I don't quite understand how that could be true. To me, it seems like if she's writing $1 million checks all day long, there's no reason why she couldn't write $1 million check to the county investment pool. It's just moving money from one place to another. It's not really doing it. So I guess I don't understand who got the authority to make the transfer, because we got lengthy discussions about how no one had the authority. And we're still hearing it tonight that nobody had the authority, but somehow, sometime between the middle of May and sometime in May, somebody decided that they did have the authority. And I don't understand how that happened, because only the board had the authority. That's what we learned from Heather. If there's no treasurer, the board has the authority, only the board. And I think I've been to enough board meetings that I never saw the board say, we're going to make that transfer. So I don't understand who it was that made the transfer, how they think they got the authority. I'd like to hear the explanation. Thanks.
Okay. Jason, I'd ask you to follow up on Mr. Holloway's comments he made on both of those.
I'm glad the transfer was made, but I just don't understand the discussion.
Okay. I don't see any other comments online. I would like to make the motion that the board adopt a resolution approving the investment policy for fiscal year 2025-26.
I'll second that. Okay, could we make a small amendment for what Bruce is talking about? Is that, Barbara, was his comment valid?
I'm sorry, you're right.
The reporting is to be done monthly versus quarterly? I think
I would have to look at the code sections, Bob. I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, I think what we could do is just get rid of the words at least quarterly and in number 9, and that would eliminate any issues.
I can only speak from my history.
There it is.
When we did our reporting, the revenues versus expenses was monthly, but the investment was a quarterly report.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody violating state law, maybe? I have to look that one up.
I will.
But
okay. I can support Bob's just take out
at least quarterly.
At least quarterly, but does that open us up then to an annual report instead?
No, it just says we'll receive investment reports, and then that'll be governed by state law.
Okay.
You can always add the word as per state law.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a motion and a second on this. Okay. Second.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
Director Bolt,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to item 11E, the Highway 9 meter abandonment and trench repair contract. Garrett, are you taking this one?
Yes, I'll present this one. So the matter before the board is to award a construction contract to Lewis and Tibbetts, an amount not to exceed $155,291. This is for abandoning existing service laterals near the intersection of Felton Empire and Highway 9 in Felton. Caltrans is installing a sidewalk from Felton to the high school. As part of this project, there are 3 houses along the side of Highway 9 that have to be abandoned. And Caltrans has directed the district to remove the meters and abandon the service laterals. The district was also contacted by Santa Cruz County regarding a trench that crosses Felton Empire. And we were been requested to repave the trench following the county standards. District staff prepared a RFP for construction bids that included the Caltrans service line abandonments and the trench paving repair for the county. A recent paving project completed by the county paved over one of our valve lids on Ackley Street. So we are also going to raise the iron on the valve lid so that if we need to isolate the lateral to the hydrant, we will be able to without having to chip away the asphalt overlay. We received 2 bids for the work. The low bid was from Lewis and Tibbetts for the $155,291. We did receive a bid for this construction for $181,500. This work is included in the budget. We had budgeted $300,000 for this work. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
Okay. I'm pretty sure some board members are going to have questions on this. Belina?
Yeah. I think it said in there that it could have been done in-house, but it was a little bit over because you couldn't provide traffic control. Did we I'm sorry, did we ask it since they were kind of getting told this if they could help us provide traffic control so that's something that we could do in-house?
My first action when I was approached about this work was to go to operations to see if we could do it with our operations staff. The feedback I got was that it's a very busy intersection at, basically Graham Hill and Highway 9, and that it wouldn't be appropriate for our operations staff to do that work. Regarding the trench repair, the trench goes across both lanes of Felton Empire. So again, you need traffic control in order to maintain one lane open at all times while the paving repair is completed. And for that reason, we put it out to bid.
Okay. I just want to understand it better because I know like we've been talking a bit about me trying to move more stuff in-house. So just kind of hearing what our limitations are on that.
Yeah, my first thought was let's go to operations and see if we can handle it in-house.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Other board member questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Garrett, I'm still a little confused on this. So there's 3 separate tasks in this bid effectively. Is there a reason we couldn't do I'm still missing why we couldn't do the meter abandonment with operations?
So the main for that serves these houses is located in Highway 9.
Oh, it is in
the northbound lane.
Okay.
And this is in close proximity to the traffic light by Graham Hill Road.
Yeah, I mean, I know where the 3 houses are that are being eminent domain effectively.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to go all the way back into the main to remove the connection.
Yes, sir. So what we'll have to do is dig down to the main, turn off the corporation stop at the main, and disconnect the service lateral.
Okay.
2 of the houses are served off of a 2-inch lateral. So there's an actual gate valve down by the main. So that will get closed and abandoned in place and plugged.
Okay. Great. Well, okay. If you have to go all the way to the main, that's a problem at that intersection. That's for sure. Okay.
Okay. And given the level of traffic in there, it needs a traffic planning company that does this as a routine.
Oh, yeah.
We can't have our staff. No. So, yeah.
Ask a question?
Sure.
So I'm a little, help me understand. So Caltrans, for example, for the 3 houses, exercised eminent domain, confiscated that private property, paid the landowners appraised value, presumably as part of that process. I'm a little curious why we don't get some compensation for them destroying our assets. Is that like a condition of the easement that we have on their right of way or something, or is that something that we could say, hey, it's your project?
We'd be public agents.
My understanding is when we install our infrastructure in their right of way, we are subject to their direction.
Yep. We are.
Okay.
We
Great,
are.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Routinely.
And then it's the county public works that we're subject to on the crossing at Felton Empire.
Correct.
Yes.
And to further elaborate on that, our valve can was paved over because the county had a paving project And they decided to proceed without our involvement.
And they're within their right to do that.
Yes, they are.
Well, they're within their right to do that, but, I mean, come on, this is one of those coordination of activities that we really need to get better at with the county, given the amount of capital improvements we're gonna be doing.
Yeah.
And that includes also who pays for what, so that we aren't doing their maintenance for them.
And I would say we're also subject to City of Scotts Valley when we're in their right of way.
Okay, I have one, point on this that I do want to discuss, but the bigger global at an engineering committee meeting, and it's the liquidated damages aspect of it. It's my understanding, from talking to Garrett earlier today that, we typically don't exercise liquidated damages. From my experience in construction management, if we put liquidated damages in, we're paying some premium on the contractor's costs. They add some percentage if they see LDs in contracts. I don't want to need to discuss it, but at a future engineering committee meeting, could you just add that to, so that we can discuss that as a committee?
Sure.
So that I can vet my opinion on that more completely. So, okay. Any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, I move that the board direct the general manager to execute the notice of award documents for construction of CA9 meter abandonment and trench repair to Lewis and Tibbetts Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $155,291.
Second.
Okay, just a point of clarification here. Do we not normally authorize the general manager to execute the contract? I mean, is award and execute being used interchangeably here?
I believe so.
Always used award.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, historically, we've used execute contracts. All right, thank you.
Okay. Leah?
Clarification award is okay. Okay. President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Yes.
Director Larday,
Yes.
and Director Russ.
Yes.
Okay. The next item is the Bennett and Lompico Pipelines Survey Contract. Garrett, do you have that one also?
Yes, so the district is the recipient of a grant, hazard mitigation grant for planning purposes. And this has to do with burying existing above grade pipes. And specifically the Lompico intertie pipe. This goes from the end of Zany Drive up to Lake Boulevard. This is the district's connection to the Lompico area or system that we did an emergency intertie with. And then the other pipeline is the Bennett raw water pipeline. This collects raw water from Bennett Spring and transmits the water to the Kirby Water Treatment Plant. A portion of the pipeline was damaged in the windstorms of 2023, from falling trees and branches, damaged the above grade metal pipe. Staff was able to install an above grade HDPE line so that we're back in water. However, it would be subject to possible damage if there's a fire or if subsequently more trees fall on it. So the contract would be to perform a survey, which would be the first step in developing engineering plans for burial of these pipelines. We put out a request for proposals and we got a bid from Two Hill, which recently did our Peavine raw water supply line survey. They were the apparent low bidder, an amount of $52,282. And so the matter before the board is to execute the professional services agreement for the survey. And with that, I could take any questions that you have.
Okay, questions from board members? We'll start this way this time.
I just have a comment, which is I'm glad we went and hired Two Hill as opposed to doing a waiting process, even though I think they were slightly more expensive because this time we got a big benefit. So,
yeah, Two Hill included an optional LiDAR service.
Yeah.
As long as we don't exercise that, it will be the cheaper price.
Okay, do we need LiDAR?
Alina?
Well, yeah. So that just kind of ties into my question. Last time we ended up with them because of the whole LiDAR issue, right? And so you wanted kind of LiDAR now, and now you're saying you don't. But did we tell Dudek that we didn't need LiDAR because they weren't that much off with including it? And maybe if they had understood that better, would their bid have come in lower?
The RFP documents were published on the website, and bidders were offered the option to raise questions. I didn't receive any questions to that effect. Staff's intention is to get a survey done at the most economical price that we can, so we can use it as a background for some engineering plans. You know, the main thing, the pipe's existing where it is right now. So the main thing, I guess, would be to quantify, you know, how long is the pipe, how deep do we want to bury it, where it's happening, so that a construction company can give us a bid for burying the line.
Okay.
I just had approximately, how long is this pipe? This is the HDPE pipe?
There were a couple figures in there. One of them was like 3,000, the other one was 1,000.
Yeah, exactly. So the
about 4,000 total.
Yeah, two separate areas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have no expectation that the grant that we have is going to come anywhere close to paying for construction costs. But that's not what we're talking about this evening. It's the survey. The first step.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the first step. Okay, all right. Any comments from the public on this one? Seeing none, I move that the board direct the general manager to award the professional services agreement for survey of Bennett and Lompico pipelines in an amount not to exceed $52,282 to Towel. The Towel engineering. So, okay.
Second.
Okay.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Folt,
Yes.
Director Russ,
Yes.
and Director Largay.
Yes.
Okay. We agreed to defer discussion on item 11G until the next meeting. Moving on to 11H, the long line service agreement. And again, Kurt?
Yes, sir. So the matter before the board is approving a resolution for a long service line agreement between the district and Lyle Woolard, owner of APN 082-161-23. This is an existing customer of the district's, and he has an existing long service line agreement. So the purpose of this is to relocate his long service line from its current location, which is underneath an existing structure, to a location that would be more accessible and make more sense. And that's the matter. So I'll take any questions you have.
Okay. Questions from the board? Well, then I'll ask the structure that's on the long service line. He put that up there?
Well, it would be his neighbor, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
he's getting an easement through his neighbor's property, for his water line. So we set the meter in the right of way.
Yeah.
And then, you know, his parcel is located away from the right of
Yeah.
way.
But he's paying for this.
Oh, yes, yes.
This relocation.
It's basically his easement, him as a neighbor.
Right. Okay.
Hey, Mark, it's the mountains, man. The water lines went
Yeah,
anyway. Okay, it's just, historically.
See no improprieties. Close my eyes to that. Yes. Okay. Any comments from the public on this? Otherwise, I move that the board adopt the attached resolution approving the attached long line service agreement for the owner of APN 82 161-23. Somebody else second? Somebody else second?
I said second.
Oh, okay, I didn't, sorry, didn't hear that. Yeah, wasn't looking for a second.
Trying to talk at the time.
Okay, all right. Later.
President Smalley,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
and Director Rice.
Yes.
You
Okay,
voted the wrong APN.
Oh, I did?
Well, there's two APNs.
I said
The
23.
Easements on the 25 one.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's his neighbor.
Oh, okay,
So
okay,
basically he has to get an easement through his neighbor's property to serve his property.
okay,
Does that make
okay,
sense?
okay, got it.
so I got the
Making sure
number
you
right.
got it right.
You did it right.
Okay,
Good job.
23. Okay,
Congratulations.
thank you.
With that, can I just ask a question?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Yes.
Thanks. Why is this a board decision?
I think because of the resolution,
Yes.
because it's
Yeah.
it's an easement through somebody else's property.
Right.
I see.
And
It's a resolution.
yeah, and the board has always issued these long line service agreements in this manner because it's a resolution attached to it.
Right. I guess that would be my question is, why is it a resolution needed?
Yeah.
And it's because of the easement.
Yeah.
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 Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item is the delinquent utility bill accounts. And Heather's covering this one. That is correct. Heather?
Good evening. The action before you tonight is to consider adopting a resolution approving the delinquent water charges that shall be submitted to the County of Santa Cruz for collection on the property tax roll, and authorize the district to enter into an indemnity agreement and to provide additional information required by the county. The related policy was last adopted March 6, 25 by the Board of Directors, revising the utility billing policy, primarily revising the criteria to determine which accounts would be placed on the county tax roll. This year, the district is pursuing accounts that have past due balances delinquent as of March 31, greater than 500, or delinquent for more than 6 consecutive months. Staff sent out the first round of letters in April. The final notice was sent out on May 23rd, 25. The district is proposing to send a total of 167 accounts to the county tax roll for a total of a little more than 341,000. Last year, the district placed 124 accounts on the county tax roll for a total of 181,000. That concludes my report.
Okay. Questions from board members? Director Foltz?
So Heather, I think we had a conversation about money. I mean, it's one thing to place the accounts on the property tax rolls, but when do we get cash? So out of the $181,727.80, how much cash have we actually received from the county? Was it all of it, or was it just a fraction, or somewhere in between?
As of right now, I'd say a fraction.
And why is that? Is that because we only get paid when people pay their property taxes?
Correct. When they pay their property tax, when the property sells, the county every quarter gives us a little bit towards this balance. And we're doing tracking. Last year for audit papers, the audit papers weren't as thorough as I would have liked, and I'm going to make sure that they are thorough this year, so it is by account, so we have better information. But every quarter they give us a little bit to go down on this account, but the large money comes in when they sell the property.
Yeah, and some of these properties are probably not going to be sold, or if they don't pay their property taxes, they'll go into county ownership, in which case we'll probably never get paid. I think when this policy was initiated, it was done so by one of the directors that served back in 2018, 2019. Who basically said the county would give us money up front, and then they would be pursuing the property owners through high interest receivable. Given that's not the case, I think we might need to revisit this situation a little bit, at least to see whether or not there's a better ROI than what we're currently getting. Before, we had someone almost completely dedicated to handling turn-offs, turn-ons, that sort of thing. I just want to make sure that we're still financially in a better place doing it this way than conforming with state law on turn-off and the like. If we've only received a fraction of the 181,000, that basically means we're up to $500,000 here in delinquents, and that's simply not a good thing.
Yeah. So,
not for tonight, obviously, but something to look at.
Agreed. And I think it was probably the Budget and Finance Committee that did an initial review on this, or the Admin Committee.
Well, so back in when it was originally done, it was, when it was originally done, it was done through the Admin Committee due to the communications aspect of it. And it was done so because there was a new state law at that time that made turn off and turn on extremely onerous, to the point we'd have to dedicate a person and a half, was the forecast, to about 200 accounts that were routinely in default.
Okay.
So this might be something to revisit.
But I think that since we have potentially $500,000 in outstanding receivable, if this is netting us a small percentage of this on an annual basis, I agree with Bob's thought. I think this should go back to the Budget and Finance Committee then, once staff does some additional review on this, to look at and then eventually come back to the board for.
Or find out if there was a way that, because apparently the Lompico Water District did this and they got money. So is there a different process here that, we aren't following, that we're not taking advantage of?
Right. Not tonight, but yes, if you could follow up on that, then, Jason.
Yeah, that was my other question, is what our performance was.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from board members on this? And I have one. Heather, we discussed this annually, and the board so far just ends up approving it. Unless there are changes that our general manager, upon further discussion, recommends, do we formally have to approve this every year, and it has to come in front of the board?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's what I expected, but just had to ask that. Okay.
The county requires the resolution and the approval of the agreement annually, and that is a board responsibility.
Right. Okay. All right.
Can I make a request? In anticipation of the Finance Committee at some point seeing this again?
Yes.
And as you look at various scenarios and alternatives, it perhaps would make sense to segment the overdue accounts into those that are, say, above and below $10,000. Just because at some point, it seems like it's worth us taking direct action to collect, and maybe there's a threshold like that where, rather than send it to the county, we just want to,
or some other means,
or some other means.
Yes, like shutoffs. Yeah. But we'll let staff do some analysis on that then before it comes back. Okay. Any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, I'll make the motion that the board adopt a resolution approving the delinquent water charges which shall be submitted to the county of Santa Cruz for collection on the property tax roll and authorize the district to enter into an indemnity agreement and to provide additional information required by the county.
I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you. Leah?
President Smalling,
Yes.
Vice President Lane,
Yes.
Director Foltz,
Yes.
Director Largay,
Yes.
and Director Riss.
Yes.
Okay. All right. On to the remaining items on the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull? Okay, Bob?
I think regrettably, we have to pull the minutes from the special meeting with the notice of vacancy. There are actually two motions made, or two votes taken, I think, not just one. Right, so I think we need
I thought it got
to,
interrupted, but
I,
if that's the case.
I think we need to correct that. Well, or a review to make sure, because I know that I made a motion a second, and we were voting, and I'm pretty sure that happened.
Okay. And as long as we're commenting on that one, on those minutes, it was pointed out to me by a member of the public, Mr. Holloway, that what we discussed regarding what's that?
10B.
10B in there, and I'm trying to pull those minutes to reference it on the moving ahead with the loan package that we authorized, that it wasn't wait until the general manager was here. So Jen, could you confirm what I was alluding to, that yes, we said move ahead?
Yes, we
Okay, okay, so
we've
then
already adjusted the minutes.
then the minutes, revised minutes, should come back and reflect that at a subsequent board. Okay, okay, all right.
Can I
Sure,
quickly pull something on the lead service line? Oh, yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I identified two mistakes.
Right.
And Jen told me that the minutes were inaccurate. It took a day or so, but she told me that 10B was, the minutes were inaccurate. She agreed, and I guess I'm not quite sure why.
I don't know, Bruce.
There are two mistakes in the minutes, and the other one is the one that Director Fultz is talking about. That there were actually two nominations of Russ before he was elected, and there were two votes, as I recall. And only one is shown in the minutes. So there was a similar thing that happened at the beginning of this meeting, where Director Fultz asked for this agenda change to happen, and then you voted. If I recall correctly, you didn't vote?
We had a member of the public request the same, and then the board.
And then you did it.
And then the board concurred, yes, move it.
So it was concurrence, but not a vote?
No, we didn't.
Okay,
We didn't
I guess
vote.
yeah. But what concerned me about the minutes is that I can't think of another example where a vote was taken and it's not in the minutes. And so I'm just wondering, is this going to be a trend? Is this a new policy or somebody's interpretation that if a motion fails, it doesn't need to be in the minutes at all? And I've never heard of that. I think the Robert's Rules of Order says that main motions are supposed to be in the minutes. So to me, you could have 23 failed motions before finally there's concurrence, there's agreement. And I guess I sort of feel like that should all be in the minutes. I just don't, it doesn't make sense to me that you would have multiple motions that fail and never show that in the minutes. So I'm just wondering if there's a policy here that's, because the way I've always understood it, and not just at this agency, but any local government, is pretty much if a vote is taken, it's going to be in the minutes. So if the district has a different policy, I think you're heading down the wrong road.
Okay.
I don't understand if there's a policy or whether these things are going to keep happening. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So was there something else to pull? Do we have anything? Well, Alina?
Can I just pull the lead service line inventory just to make a comment?
Sure.
I just want to say I never got a letter. I don't know if I'm out of the area or what. And the only way I learned about this is to see the email come in from Beth Algren, and then I had to kind of track down what was going on. But like I never had anything come to my address. So anyway, so that's just a
okay
little point.
And I got the notice.
I got a letter.
Yeah.
You get a bill from the district, right?
Not a paper bill.
I don't either, but I still got the notice.
We hand stuff those envelopes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So okay.
My mail lady likes to give my mail to other people, so it's
Blame it
really
on
bad.
the-
Like there's
blame it on the
another house,
Postal
it all goes down, and we
Okay.
just have to swap mail all the time.
Okay.
So
we've covered the consent agenda, district reports. Does anybody from the board want to comment on the district reports? Given that, we only had one thing on written communication, and that was the lead inventory that we've already talked about. The board needs to transition back into closed session now, so I'm not adjourning this meeting. What do we guess, board members, for the time that we're going to need for this? 9:30?
yeah.
Half an hour?
15 minutes. Yeah.
How about 35 minutes, 9:15? We shoot for that? I don't know.
We can shoot for that. Okay, 9:15. All right. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
CTV will be back at 9:15.
Right.
Thank you.
Maybe.
I realized partly oh, you're
Oh, okay. Dueling fingers.
I need to report that the board is taking no reportable actions at the conclusion of our closed session. And with that, I want to adjourn the meeting. So, you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, CTV. Thanks, Brian.